Hi, I'm Adam from Audio Imperia. We've been creating modern cinematic virtual instruments for over 10 years, and we're thrilled to bring our acclaimed libraries Nucleus and Solo to MuseScore. Bolstered by our experience with hard-hitting trailers and film projects, Nucleus and Solo can bring the sound of modern cinema to your scores. Nucleus is a comprehensive cinematic orchestra consisting of strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion, choir and sound design to add to your arsenal, giving you all the tools you need to create your next film soundtrack. Tailored for modern scores, we've included classic instruments like violins and cello, as well as larger-than-life sections like the low brass ensemble, epic percussion and cinematic sound design. Let's take a listen to what Nucleus has to offer. So one of the reasons I think Nucleus is an excellent choice for use inside of MuseScore is the way that the orchestra has been designed and recorded. We recorded it in the same space at the same time with the same players, conceptualized from the ground up to be an all-in-one modern scoring orchestra. And that really helps it have a consistency inside of MuseScore. All the instruments sound like they're in the same place, sound like they're in situ as a real orchestra. We've also complemented it with some great pads and sound design that is really going to elevate it and give you a lot of extra choices when it comes to scoring and inputting different types of sounds inside of MuseScore. So it's got all the traditional orchestral instruments, but it also has a bunch of modern sound design, which really expands your palette. And we're just going to take a look at this piece and see how I've used some of that and see some of the great sounds that you can get from this orchestra. So you can see we're starting this piece off with these drones and pads. And you can see if we click on the stave text, we can choose from the different elements in each of these. So we don't just have one drone or one pad, we have a whole bunch to choose from, which instantly gives you kind of unrivaled choice when it comes to creating sound design elements inside of the score. So if we just have a little listen to how these sound. As you can see, it's really given us this interesting kind of ambient, very expansive beginning. It's not just a traditional orchestra. We do have the tremolo strings in the bottom here, but we also have these drones and these pads and this great sub boom too, adding a lot of cinematic weight that you don't normally get with traditional orchestral libraries. We just have a listen to the strings on their own. You'll see we've got these great tremolo articulations that are being automatically triggered here. So they sound great. Let's now move on to have a little look at some of these short strings here. So you can see we have some sort of staccato phrases going on here. If I just solo these, have a listen to how all these blend together to create a really beautiful sounding cinematic string section. Sound beautiful, really, really coherent, really sound like they're in the same space playing at the same time. And then that's supported here by this lovely sounding harp. It also has this great gliss function at the end that you're going to see here, which sounds brilliant. So really nice that we can just input these glisses and get an automatic gliss here. Really sort of plays very naturally inside of the piece. Then we have the timpani and the big brass going on here. So let's just go a little bit further on. So the piece carries on building from here, and we have this great textured sound. We have these continued short strings, and then we have this beautiful layering of the clarinets, the six horns, and the violins. And this is one of the great things with Nucleus. Everything layers really nicely together, so you can get some quite complex doublings and timbres based on how you're layering things. So you can see the arrangement starts to get more complex here. We bring in these really nice snare drums just to lead us into the next section alongside the timpani. We're also bringing in the trombones here and the low brass, the tuba. So this is starting to really add some beautiful weight to the arrangement. Let's just have a listen from this point here. And as you can see, we're increasing the dynamics here from MP to MF, and all of this is being represented in the way that the score sounds as well. So these are not just text-based instructions, they're actually being represented inside of the audio as well, which is great, automatically done. And here's something I really want to draw your attention to. I think these sound absolutely gorgeous. I have these little short flute flourishes going on, and if we just solo these and listen to them on their own, they sound beautiful to me. They really sound great inside the mix, and they sound great in isolation as well. Everything is just designed to blend, and of course you've got the mixer, which we'll look a little bit later on if you want to add some extra sort of mixing and blend things in a little bit more. But I think this just works beautifully. We also have the introduction of a choir. Now this is another great thing with Nucleus. It has this beautiful sounding choir. So if I just play this in isolation. Absolutely love the sound of this choir. It's gorgeous. It's not too intense. It's not too big. It's not too intimate. It's just this beautiful, rich, excellent sounding choir that just blends so well with the rest of the orchestra. We also have these little phrases going on inside of the snare drum just to add some more momentum, so you can hear how the snare drum sounds in isolation. So a lovely snare drum, and then we also have this timpani playing these very quiet notes here just to add some momentum, just to give some more rhythmic sort of push to this section. And what I love about this is you can see as I'm putting these accents in here, we're just getting those accents naturally put in alongside the dynamic phrasing as well. We also have the rolls as well, which sound great. We also have these beautiful staccato horns and flutes. If I just play these, listen to how crisp these sound. Great round robin, so you get a really natural sound. It's not a machine gun-like effect. It really sounds like orchestra playing together. And you can see these are also being triggered with the dynamics as well. So these dynamics are swelling up and swelling down, and that's being naturally represented in the sound. So beautiful, sounds really great. Let's just go back through this section and move on to the next sort of big climactic section. So I absolutely love the way this whole tutti section sounds. All the orchestra played together, it just sounds so powerful, so rich. Let's have a little look at what's going on. First of all, we have these quite complicated sort of phrases going on in the upper woodwinds. Now, these would probably be split out between two players in real life. I'm not doing that here, but of course you could inside of MuseScore if you wanted to. You could split it out and make it much more realistic. I've just sort of done this all on one stave as a kind of sketch for now, but still, sounds fantastic. So that's adding some rhythm and some drive. And then we can see inside of the brass, we have these beautiful sounding trumpets here. Absolutely love the sound of the trumpets inside of Nucleus. They're just so rich and so cinematic. And we're doubling these with the horns as well. So together they have this really full sound in both octaves. Sound brilliant. And then we also have the choir here singing much bigger, wider harmony. Beautiful. And if I just play the strings all together, you can see what a lovely full sound we have here. We have that similar rhythmic phrase going on in the violas as we did in the flutes and the brass, and then we have the soaring melody on the violins. So let's just play through this final section through to the end, and then we'll talk a little bit about the end as well. So you can really hear how everything is combining to create this huge, lush sound. I absolutely love this sort of little horn phrase that's poking out over the top here. It sounds fantastic, has this really rich fortissimo sort of sound. We also have these huge chords going on inside of the choir and the brass as well. Beautiful and rich there. And of course, the same thing going on inside of the strings. We have this lovely rich sound. And then we're kind of ending how we began with these lovely sort of little phrases here. So just this really, really nice little figure going on in the harp. And again, all the dynamics being faithfully represented here. We just have this lovely rich chord going on in the strings, which is just helping to bed that in. And you can see how everything is tailing off beautifully here. And then of course, we're back to these slightly different, but equally useful sounding drones and pads at the end. We've changed the type that we're using, but they sound great. So if I just play them in isolation and maybe add the sub booms as well. So yeah, you can see how everything combines together here just to create this lovely rich sound. Let's just have a little listen to these last few bars again. So yeah, just the sound of a modern scoring orchestra playing together automatically sounds great inside of the notation software. And you can see we have the mixer. If I bring this up here, the mixer can help us by just helping us to move these up and down if we want to just add a little bit more volume or less volume. We can also add reverb. There's reverb on board in MuseScore, of course, and we can just change the reverb settings if we want to put things in a bit more space or make them sound a little bit more washed out or a bit more ambient. And if you really want to go to town in this, of course, you can add your own plugins as well. That's completely possible. So you can really get quite granular in the way that you process and treat each one of these. So I hope this has given you a little overview of all the great features that are available inside of our Nucleus library in MuseScore. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.